If the shelf life of Twinkies is something you are concerned with when playing a post-apocalyptic tabletop RPG, and you want to know the signs of expiration of said Twinkies, Rust and Redemption is the book for you. It's 6 months, by the way, and they become incredibly hard. Hi there, fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask, and today I want to talk about Rust and Redemption. And before I start bitching about the one thing that disappointed me more than it should about the physical edition of Rust and Redemption, I want to give a quick shout out to Qedhup. Qedhup has a review on his YouTube channel on this book. He mainly talks about the cypher system, so he's the go-to guy for the cypher system. Outside of my own channel, of course. He has a review on the PDF. He makes a lot of great points about it. So if you want to get like a more in-depth view or his opinion or whatever, make sure to check the link in the description below to his video. But if you do not know what this is Rust and Redemption, one of the white books or genre books by Monte Cook Games. It is the latest one. It is what is everything everybody has been waiting for a long time, because it tackles a post-apocalyptic gameplay for the cypher system. Now, the white books, the genre books by Monte Cook Games, are a kind of like a series of books. They all look and are completely different, but they're all also the same. There is Claim the Sky for superheroes. There's We're All Mad here for like fairy tale. There is Stay Alive for more horror type gameplay. There's Godforsaken for fantasy. There is one about The Stars Are Fire is about science fiction, and this one is post-apocalyptic Rust and Redemption. And again, it is another masterfully done book. It is incredible. It is there is a lot of great stuff in here that I didn't expect. Some stuff that is just like out of left field, like shelf life of different products, like products you wouldn't even think of that might pop up in a game when somebody finds that on the shelf or something like that. There's a lot of great stuff in here for your post-apocalyptic games, but there's one thing that disappoints me a lot about the physical edition, and that is normally the physical editions come with a big poster map. So this is the one for Claim the Sky. Yes, it's Claim the Sky. No, it's Claim the Sky. And on one side, they just give like the cover of the book itself, which is great to frame against the wall or whatever. And then on the other side, they give a map of the campaign setting they have in the book. All of these books, or at least I think all of them, at least almost all of them, have like a micro campaign setting going on that they talk about, and you get that map with your book in the back. Now this one also had that, but there is a big difference. This one has the map to Radio Quiet Zone, which is the zone of the campaign setting of Rust and Redemption. It is a map. It has like all kinds of like points of interest, and then more information about the points of interest right here. But there's nothing on the back. Now, I don't know if that's a print error or that's just me getting like an early copy or something like that. Or I don't know what it might be, what the issue might be, why they did that, but it breaks a line of something that I really liked about it. I'm actually planning on getting myself a lot of like these big frames and hang them around you can't see it, but hang them around my studio right here, just to have like all of the white book posters against my walls. I think that would be really cool, and not having one for Rust and Redemption really bums me out. Another difference that I've noticed is I think they went with a new printer, or at least with new printing standards, because there's two things that I noticed. First of all, the yes, I'm nitpicking, I know. First of all, the space here between this and the paper is much larger than with other books. There is a big difference here. I don't know if it's that noticeable on the screen, but the difference when immediately when I unpacked the book day before yesterday, it felt completely different. It felt different. The cover feels different. Everything feels different about it. So maybe new printer, maybe new printing standards. But other than that, it is a great physical book to get. Now, before we delve deeper into the PDF and I show you some things I like about this book, I want to talk about what you get for your $50 US, $49.99 to be exact. You decide to spend on this 225 pages thick-ish book. Now, I want to read from the back really quickly and give you my bullet points about those things. So, from the back, a full exploration of the post-apocalyptic genre, examining the many possibilities, where's, when's, and how's your world and the themes of survival, blah, 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 blah. This surprised me from the get-go, because they don't only talk about the stereotypical post-apocalyptic world, like, I don't know, Mad Max, I don't know, zombie apocalypse, Walking Dead, kinda Last of Us kinda stuff, diseases, all of that stereotypical stuff you think about when you think about post-apocalyptic. They also talk about the possibility, and this is a really underutilized sub-genre of the genre, where even if you take a fantasy world like, I don't know, Faerun or Midgard or whatever, the world you've been playing D&D or Cypher in with your fantasy game, even Pathfinder, you could make that post-apocalyptic. Maybe, I don't know, a meteor crashed on that world, and that world is now post-apocalyptic. Maybe a wizard exploded and half the world died and the other world got sick and there's only like, I don't know, 1,000 survivors across entirety of your campaign setting. I don't know, whatever. They talk about that. And I really like that they do that kind of stuff. That's what makes these genre books really great. They talk about a genre, but they give so many insights and tips and tricks on how to tell a story in different subgenres of the genre they're talking about. It's the same with all of the other white books. There's a superhero book that talks about like the Marvel type superheroes, but also like the more dark DC type superheroes and everything in between, like Watchmen and all that stuff. Loads of character options. This is new. Most of these books don't have a lot of character options. They talk about character options, but they mostly talk about how you can use existing character options from the Cypher System rulebook and other books in your Rust and Redemption game, in your genre. How you can change some types around in order to fit in a certain genre. But here, they give new foci, descriptors, and abilities. And there's some great stuff in here. I absolutely like that. They added that. Special rules for scavenging, repairing, exposure, mutations, and more. Not Morse, not like Morse code, but more. Plus apocalyptic artifacts and ciphers. Now, there is a few things. Qedhup pointed this out. It's really cool. First of all, yes, there is scavenging, repairing, exposure, mutations, and more, which is stuff you think about when you think about post-apocalyptic, because it's really about surviving. You're going to need to repair a vehicle. If you find even a vehicle that is repairable, you're going to need stuff to repair it. You're not going to need things to repair it with and all that stuff. They also talk about, like, they also give us artifacts and ciphers, and Qedhup pointed this out. I didn't notice it immediately, but it's really cool how they take, like, things that are everyday items for you and me right now, but could be an artifact in a post-apocalyptic war. I don't know, a can of oil, motor oil, something like that. For me, I could just go out in the store, buy some motor oil. As a matter of fact, I always have motor oil because I drive a 42-year-old vehicle. I always have motor oil at hand. So for me, it's not an artifact, but in a post-apocalyptic world, it is an artifact, actually, because it is just so damn rare to get your hands on. GM resources, exploring the effects of nuclear winter, the dangers of radiation, and the shelf life of common goods. I've talked about that. I think it's really funny that they added that. Creatures such as the terrifying radioactive bear and the horsemen of the apocalypse. Yeah, so there's beasts in here. There's always, that's something that I like about Monte Cook Games books. Almost all books they put out have some sort of mini bestiary in them that fit the genre. That is why there is a bestiary coming by Monte Cook Games, which I think is really weird. I'm kind of skeptical about that one because I think it's really unnecessary. So unless they're going to do some crazy cool stuff with that, I personally right now at this point in time think it's the most unnecessary book ever for the Cypher system. So I hope it's going to be amazing and I really want to get my hands on it. And then there is a complete campaign setting called the Radio Quiet Zone, plus multiple adventures for the Cypher system, which are like multiple one-shot-ish adventures you can play set in like post-apocalyptic worlds, more specifically the Quiet Zone, which is the campaign setting they use for Rust and Redemption. Now, I don't buy these books. No, I don't buy these books. I get these for free from Monte Cook Games, but I don't get these books for their campaign settings. So I don't play the godforsaken campaign setting, although I use the book all the time for my fantasy game. I don't get them for the campaign settings. I'm sorry, I just always make up my own stuff. That's just the way I play. But for people looking for a campaign setting to get into, I'm sure it's great, but I haven't actually touched that one yet. And this is it, ladies and Pentel Jeeple. This is Rust and Redemption for the Cypher system. And just if you were asking yourself, what was the title of this book? It's right here, Rust and Redemption. It's here also, just again. Now, something that I want to point out. The first thing that I want to point out. If there is one Cypher system book that is my favorite book in terms of artwork, this is it. The artwork in this is just insane. It is just of a whole new level. I don't know why. I'm no artist. I don't know what tricks they use in order to make art look good or whatever. This one looks really good. Now, it's really a bit of a shame that they only use like a part of this art piece, because if you get the book physically, you get like this entire art piece in the interior, if you can see that on camera on the small screen. Also in the back, again, there is another one of like this really insanely cool battle scene. I might add this in post-production for you to take a look at, but that is the inner artwork of this book, which is really great in physical part. So let's take a look at the table of contents really quickly. So they have 4 chapters. The first one, post-apocalyptic world building. Now this is all of that like juicy GM guide kind of stuff. Like it's almost like a game master's guide, but for one particular genre. And the Cypher system books all have that. And I like that when you used to buy like a Dungeons and Dragons book, it came with like a game master's guide. Now, if you buy for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons book, it comes with a shitty game master's guide, but it comes with a game master guide. And I think game master's guides were really important back in the days, but now I think having a game master's guide for a particular genre is really important. For example, if you buy the Scarlet Citadel, which is a 5th edition PDF from Cobalt Press, it is a dungeon crawl. The first part of the book is just advice on how to run a dungeon crawl and certain rules you need to be reminded of as a GM when you run a dungeon crawl. This is that with post-apocalyptic world building. They talk about the world building and they immediately go into like what kind of world do you want to set. We'll go deeper into that in a bit. There's also post-apocalyptic player characters where they have new player options, currency, and equipment. We all know the only right currency to use for a post-apocalyptic game is toilet paper. Don't give me anything else. Post-apocalyptic ciphers and artifacts, which some of them aren't really artifacts, but that makes it even cooler. There is the setting, the Radio Quiet Zone, which I'm not interested in, and I won't be talking about really in this thing. And then there are adventures that I will be talking about really quickly later in this video. So, post-apocalyptic world building. Let's just jump right over there. Building your post-apocalyptic setting, right here. Borrowing from other sources, popular TV shows. Again, like any Cypher system book, they have like these notes on the side, like, oh, if you want to, there is something here in chapter 5, just click chapter 5 here. If you have the PDF, click it and you know where to go. The page numbers also there for physical edition people. Look at this artwork, just like this. I know this artwork is great, but this makes it for me. Like this, just I don't know. There's this freaking bird trying to pump water, but there's just plants going out of it. And this one looks like taking a shower, and I don't know if it's plants or it's goo coming out. I don't know. It's just great. This is the art piece that is inside of the book. So there's there's also like tables in here, which I want to talk about really quickly. Where are they? There is this guy who's really happy with beef jerky and isn't noticing a tiger is trying to attack him because he has beef jerky, which is a really cool scene. They also, here's the food and medicine shelf life table, which I think is really funny. There is really cool stuff in here, like bread and salt and soda and sugar, stuff you will find, beans, baking powder for heaven's sake, baby food, mayonnaise, all of that stuff. But then they come in here with like Twinkies, which is really cool. There's wine, there's dry yeast, all of that stuff. The same with equipment and vehicles. Now, shelf life for equipment and vehicles, shelf life indicates average time for a battery charge to remain at a useful level. Shelf life is restored each time the battery is recharged. After that, for several hundred recharge cycles. So, for example, if you find yourself a book which doesn't have a battery, it will have a shelf life of 100 plus years. After that, it will get discolored, molded. It will start decomposing, but a firearm might last you 75 plus years, especially if it's a high quality firearm, like a good, like one of those old school revolvers that you just need to put a little drip of oil on, maybe. I don't know how guns work. So automobile, 2 months, maybe, right? Airplane, 20 plus years. Now, all of this is really, it depends on your world. Of course, your world could have like, I don't know, there could be more like a meteor strike and there isn't a lot of sunlight and there's all that kind of stuff. Like the environment change, maybe stuff rusts even faster in your world because there is more oxygen or less oxygen. I also do not know how rust works. Corrosion works. Structures, same thing. Stable life, all those things you don't think about when you think about a book for post-apocalyptic things, but then when you put it in front of your face, it really makes a lot of sense. That is what I really think is really cool. Yeah, and they just go deeper into like the skills you can use for your post-apocalyptic game. There's a post-apocalyptic girl right here with like a gun on her shoulders. She's carrying a cart like with some rope, a can of gas, a stop sign, and a battery for a car. So she's probably going to try to repair a car or something, gas it up, put a new battery in it, and she's going to defend that battery with her life because a battery in a post-apocalyptic setting is a really valuable thing. Yeah, so that is the first part of it. I also like this, the way the world ends type of thing. So I don't have a D100 with me right now. But yeah, you can just roll a D100 and be like, oh, the world ended because of a cyber attack. The dinosaurs returned. Zombies. Quantum vacuum collapse. Ragnarok. Mega tsunami. Language eating virus. Language-eating virus. Flooding, failure of critical infrastructure, environmental collapse, everyone uploads. I don't know what all of this means, but it is a random rolling table, and they split it up into realistic and fantastic. So if you want to get a realistic thing and you roll, I don't know, a 13, you can have, or 12 or 10 or whatever, you can pick like the closest one you can just pick that one. And then yeah, I love it. I love how they split everything up in these like this really there's groups you can encounter right here: cannibals, scientists, mercenaries, raiders, soldiers, doombringers. Man, there's so many random rolling tables in here that even if you want to like run a one-shot or like a weekend game or whatever with your friends, post-apocalyptic, and you want to make it interesting for you as a GM, you can do so because you just have enough tables for that. You can just roll stuff up when it comes up, making it a game for you as well, really testing your improvisational skills, which I always like to do. I like doing this in a game itself, and I think the cypher system with the just name a number concept is really built for this kind of stuff. And all of this goes down into a mini bestiary. All of the books by Cypher System have bestiaries with like creatures that make sense for the genre the book talks about. I really love that they have that, and I really love that they kind of changed around the layout of these stat blocks, because normally stat blocks for the Cypher System for monsters are really wall of texty, but now they kind of split up some of like this is the lore more of the creature, like there is the cannibal, there is the lore or whatever. The gem intrusion is up here. Cannibalism rules are here. You can click them or go to page 34. And then the actual number part, the stat block, quote unquote stat block of it, is right here in a separate box. And then there is a random rolling table for, like, I don't know, if it bites you, you can have like a chunk from your leg, or you end up missing a little finger or stuff like that. They have a lot of great stuff in here. I don't know. Yeah, a gamma worm. There is a hooked blossom. There is a melted. There is a radioactive bear. Raiders, all of that stuff is in here. It's not really a enormous bestiary, but what is in here is really, really good. But then we come up to the character options. And character options, player options, we all know and love player options. Roles and types. So they go really quickly into the roles and types. The Cypher System rulebook provides a list of suggested types for a post-apocalyptic game. A few assumptions about the setting are baked in. The biggest is that your setting takes place in at least several years after the end of the world. So they give us a few new descriptors: bitter, hopeful, rusted, shiny, Canyon, flutter, and mutant. So there is a few new descriptors like bitter. Someone you cared for wronged you. They may have done so directly by betraying a trust, stealing your supplies, blah 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 blah. So you get a +4 to your intellect pool because you're skeptical. You're always wondering who's going to wrong you next. You are trained in detecting this. Oh, you're trained in detecting deception. That's really cool, actually. You are trained in tracking creatures. Inability. You have a hard time not letting bitterness stain everything you do. Interaction tasks are hindered. I love that. You are good at detecting deception, but you're not really good anymore with talking to people because you really don't trust people. So yeah, there's a few new descriptors in here. We all love descriptors. There's a new descriptors which are more like races, because that is how the Cypher System tackles that. You could be like a human who you're calling like a bitter, I don't know, a bitter sage or whatever. But you could also say like you are a flutter or whatever, which means you are kind of like one of those post-apocalyptic creatures that came to be like a mutated dog-like creatures. Is it Felis? Phallus and Canyons could exist within the same post-apocalyptic setting. If so, the two species might keep to themselves, and when they meet, they could skirmish, but individuals can break down barriers and stereotypes by choosing friendships over rivalry. Really cool that they added races in here. They did that for Godforsaking as well, where they talk more, if I'm not mistaken, about the dwarf and a few other races. Yeah, I like that. It does kind of the same thing as any other descriptor, but it just tied to a race, which I think is really cool. Open-endedness of the Cypher System. There's shiny, and there's new foci. Merges mind with machine. Prepped for the end. Wow, you prepared for ultimate disaster. Unlike most of the sheeple, which means you stashed away food, water, and other survival gear when things were still okay. So you're basically a doomsday prepper. So you get some new stuff. Choosing one of the following: choose the focus connections in the Cypher System rulebook, additional equipment, minor effects, all of that stuff. Just the same as whatever other foci you have. You can now use this, and you get a few other abilities, sorry for rambling, other abilities tied to that. So tier 1, tier 2, for example, these ones are in the Cypher System rulebook, so you need to look that up in the Cypher System rulebook, but there could be like prepared caches. You have a prepped secret hideout with shelter and basic supplies capable of seeing you through a year or more, or up to 6 people through about 3 months. In addition, you have knowledge of 3 different secret supply caches you put together and hid before everything fell apart. Chosen from the following: the caches are located no closer than about 5 miles, 8 kilometers from each other. That's really cool. That's cool stuff. You're basically a doomsday prepper, and that's actually a pretty damn good idea. Something I do is, personally, I've got a lot of canned food, like a lot of it, in my basement. But actually taking a shit ton of that and taking that on to the other side of, I don't know, Belgium, I don't know, somewhere, and hiding that is actually not that bad of an idea. And I really like that it is in here. I'm gonna... there's something I need to do.